Hi there, you're welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be walking you through JavaScript toggle secret. Okay, you might have visited website and you see when you click on a button, it hides an element. When you click again, it shows the element. E.g., you might have visited website like Facebook. When you view your pictures and you click on the picture, it has an overlay. It shows your big picture, and when you want to close it, you have by the top right corner of the screen, you will see a cross sign red. That's to close the overlay. You click on it, it closes it. So that is toggle. And sometimes you might have seen navbar toggle button. When you click on that button, it shows the options, the menus, and when you click on it again, it disappears. So I'm going to be walking you through the basic toggle secret with JavaScript. So without further ado, let's get started. I have my text editor by the left hand side of the screen, and the right side of the screen is my browser. So that's all we need. Now inside this folder, how to do folder, I'm going to be creating JavaScript, HTML and CSS files. Okay, so you can see new file. Click on that, type in index.html, then again index.css, and lastly index.js. Good. So let me split this vertically. And also before then, can you see below my text editor, by the top bottom right corner of the text editor, we have what? Open file 5 server. Okay, and if you don't have this here, you can right click on HTML file. You will see open with live server, and if you have not installed this extension, you can actually get it here. Let's say you have an internet connection, you are connected to the internet, just type live server, so you'll be able to install it on your inside the text editor. Then you'll be able to use it for running of your application or website. So we have a blank HTML file already, and for those who are just new to web site, this is the best tutorial for you, because you're going to learn everything, how these three technologies work together to give you a robust website. Though we are not creating the complete website, but what we are going to do, we give you the basic, the fundamental of web development. Okay, so the HTML, for the purpose of those that are just learning HTML for the first time, HTML means hypertext markup language. Okay, is the building block of website, while the CSS means cascading style sheet. It's used for styling, coloring your website, positioning of elements, and of course the JS within JavaScript, it handles events. It handles events such as click, double click, drag, and all. So without further ado, let's get started with that. Let's create our structure. Before then, let me close this Explorer. Then I'm going to be splitting this, split down, split down as well. Good. So let me close this. So we now have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Here by the right hand side, let me run it, go live. So you can see we have what? Empty page. Okay, now in this browser we have two sections. We have the head section and the body section. Anything that goes inside this white space is the body. Okay, why this one we have here, the URL we have here, this particular one I'm pointing at, this one is the head, the title. Since we don't have anything here, it shows all the IP and the port where this website is running. Okay, and also the name of the file. If I change that name of the file to HTML, Can you see? It's still the same thing. It shows us all of those. And if I should remove this domain, we remove everything, we press enter, it's still in the home directory. Okay, now let's get started. My IntelliSense is not working, but let me type all these things. The first thing, we have to wrap HTML. This file, the HTML has to be wrapped in HTML tag. Then followed by the head. We have the head and we have the body. Okay, now inside the head we have title that we want to display. Instead of showing us this, is the title we want to show. So I'm going to be giving it JS toggling secret. Okay, now let's go live again. Can you see? We now have title. The title have changed from the URL or the IP address to what we gave it now. That's the title. So good. Now in the body section, we need the heading. We need a button to toggle the display of the element we are going to be creating. Button, and we need a container or the content or container. Okay, now first and foremost, let's start with the first heading, H1. Let's say this is Spark ICT Hub. Okay, now the button, we have button elements, call it click me. Then the container, we're going to be using div, that's division. All right, then inside the division we have H1 elements. You can say I am learning Java JS toggling secret. Okay, so then the paragraph, let's put a paragraph. When the above button is clicked, comma, this content hides. Then the other paragraph, when the button is clicked again, comma, the content shows. All right, so that's what we have now. So we are done with everything we want to do regarding the HTML. Now let's move to CSS. Let's write the CSS code. First and foremost, let's target. So for us to target the element of HTML, we can use tag name, comma, or ID, or class selector. So these are the things things that we can use to access or to target HTML elements in the HTML document. So, but it is advisable to always use class or ID, because if you want to use, for instance, I want to style this H1. If I use H1, see what will happen. Let's say my intention is to change the background of this H1 to blue. But however, if you look at the file, the HTML file, we have another H1. So if I'm calling h1, it's going to affect all other h1 in the document. So let's look at it. Document color, then let's give it color RGB. So we hexadecimal, we have starting from 00 down to FFF. So 00 FFF. You can see nothing shows up. So we have not linked the CSS with the HTML. So you go to the HTML, the head section, inside the head tag, put this line, this code, link rel equals to the type of the style, documents or file you want to link. That should be style sheet. Then href equals to the name. They are inside the same folder. So what you need to do is to just type the name of that folder in there, and that name is index.css. Then close it. It will affect. Can you see it now? So you can see what I'm talking about. So it goes, this HTML rule affects the h1, the first h1, and the h1 inside this div. That's why you see black back. So the most important thing or advisable for you is that you should always use id or selector. So if you are to use id, let's assume we want to set this one, the background of this ones to black, you have to set a class or an id for it. Well, let me use class. So here I will call it header. So changing this h1, I will change it to header. Since this is a class, for us to access this class, we start with dot header. Can you see? So it will affect the first h1 alone, unlike initially when we had h1, it affects the two. But now that we have dot header, which is the class, it gives us that. And if it is id you want to use, it's still the same thing. So let me see, give it the same name. So if it is id, you start with hash. Can you see? Hash. Or let me see so that you can see what I'm talking. Let's change this one to heading. Can you see? But in as much, can you see? Hash. So that is how to target id in HTML. Class, you start with dot, and the tag you only give the name. And you've seen the why we don't use tag name. Okay. So and also if you look at it, there is, we don't actually need all of this one, but however, if you look at it, there's this default margin. Can you see? In between the black and this edge, the browser edge, we have a space here, and on top too we have a space. To handle that, you can always do this whenever you are coding websites. So you say margin 0. So set it to be 0. Can you see now the margin has been removed? Okay, good. So let's continue with our work now. This background that is showing now, we don't actually need background for the head, just to show us what we can do with that. However, let's equally put font family inside the this asterisk. Asterisk makes anything, okay, any element in this document, apply this. Okay, font family, let's say font family, let's use Arial. Good. So now let's move further. The first thing we want to start now is, let's say, button, the button, or you might want me to equally do something with this as well. Let's do that. The header, let's just put header height, height 60 pixel, padding top right and bottom. Yeah, good. So you may want to put border. Let's see, just for putting sake, we don't actually need all of this. However, let's do that. 1 pixel, solid, red. Good, we have it now. Can you see it now? So in this case, let's remove the height. Let's just leave the padding. Good. So let's move to the button, and also let's put margin down so that margin bottom 16 pixel. It pushes the button away from itself. So let me put 62, 32. Good. All right, let's move to the button. Since we have one button, but however, don't forget, always give it an ID or class name. Let's call it toggle button. Okay, I'm using kernel case dot toggle button. Okay, now what we want to do, let's change the background of the button background. Color, we want to give it let's say I'm using hexadecimal coding font. The font I use it is color name. Okay, but now I want to use hexadecimal coding color code. All right, we have FEAF. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, good. All right, let's padding. Our concern is the the JavaScript logic. Okay, so let's just give it, let's do all of this also. Let's say margin left. Margin left, we don't want it to touch this border, so we can give it, let's say 3 rems. Good. And let's equally say the border radius. This changes the edge to sphere or curve. Okay, so let's give it 8 pixel. Good, can you see it now? Okay, and also we don't want this pointer. Let's change it. We don't want this arrow, we want pointer. So cursor behavior is going to be pointer. Can you see now? Pointer. All right, now let's equally do over. When you over it, we want the background to change, and also let's change the text bold and also the font size. So font size, let's say 18 pixel. Good. Font width bold. Good. Now what again do you want to do? Right, over. Now the name of the button, you start with the name of that's dot toggle. That's the name of the button. When we over on it, we want the background to change. So toggle button. Okay, let me expand this and also expand. Let me do this in as when we are done with HTML. Now, okay, toggle button column hover. That is, when I put my cursor on top of this, I want the background to change. So background color inside this, background color is going to be E333. That's somehow black. Can you see? So, and the text color, let's change the text color now to the previous background color, which is FCA. Don't forget the former background color. Let's go back. Can you see that? All right, we have achieved that. Let's move to the next. Our container, the main container, we want to hide. So it's called, let's give it a name, class. Let's call it container. All right, container wrapper or container. So dot container to width is equals to fit content. So you want to see that, let's put border so that you will see what I am doing. Red. Good. Can you see initially without this fit content, it takes the whole screen space. Okay, so well, let's make it so contain, yeah, content right about that. Then if you look at it, I don't want it to touch the button and also here, so let's put margin top, let's say 2, or what's the value we give to the button depending, so let's say 32 pixel too, but for the top. Good. And for the left we have 32 pixel, so it pushes it out of that. Then let's put padding within that space within the container. So let's say we can equally say 32 pixel. Good. Then what else? We can put line space, yes, line height 2. Okay, all right, that's all. So I think we can move now. Okay, background, let's put background color. Background color okay, border radius, so that for uniformity 8 pixel. Good. Then let's remove this. We have removed that. We've removed the frame, and if you like, we can add what's it called, we can add box shadow. Supply this to for that top right button. Can you see and anything? Yep. So we can equally add the color ourselves. We can use RGBA also. That's another way of adding color. I've used the name, I've used this hexadecimal, then I'm using RGB also. So the first one is red, green, blue. Then A is transparency. Okay, so let's say 0 0 0 0 means black. Okay, then 0 point, this one takes from 0 to 1, so you cannot decide within the 0 to 1, it could be 0.5. Can you see that? You can put 0.525, that's 0.25, so you can see it now. Beauty. So we have that now. Let's change this to 16. It's spread out. You can see, can you see all around? It spreads it all around. Why this one means, the first one is the width of shadow be at the right hand side. This one is the width of the shadow at the bottom. Why this one spreads it across the 4 parts of the screen. Okay, let's increase it to 32. You see what I mean? Can you see that? Let's increase by 16. Good. All right, let's continue. Okay, let me see. Can you see that now? Let's go back now. Okay, good. So I think it's okay now. Now what we want to achieve now is when I click on this button, it should show this. When I click on it again, it should what? Hide it. So but for at initial stage, it's still showing the text, but we don't want to show it at the initial state. So let's set the display to none, so it disappears. Can you see it now? Now one thing we need to do is to now set a class, a helping class called show. So it's that show that we're going to be adding at the running time. So the property for this could be flex, box, inner block, and all. So let's use block. So this property now, let's say show. If I add these shows to the container we have here, show, it comes up. Can you see it? So if I remove it, it goes away. So JavaScript is going to help us to achieve that. Okay, now let's close the CSS. We are done with CSS. Let's move our JavaScript. Now JavaScript is the one that performs the event. It handles event on the HTML element. So how do we achieve that now? That when I click on this, it should help us add the class show to this element. And when we click again, it should help us to remove it. So how do we get that? We need to target this button first. So how do we target the button? We use document. JavaScript recognizes HTML file as DOM. That means document object model. Okay, so everything in HTML is like a store. It's like a store. All of at least you might have a store in your house. That store means in HTML now it means document. Okay, so inside the store we used to keep something. We keep so many things. We could either arrange it properly, or we arrange it randomly. You can throw it anyhow. However, when the time comes for us to use them, we search for it based on the name of that thing and the importance of that thing. Okay, now the document also is like a store that houses all of the elements in HTML. So for us to now get a particular element in this HTML, we can use the name of the class, we can use ID, we can use the tag name as we have in what CSS as well. So to do that, we say document dot. So to search, we use the word query. You can search by ID, you can get element by ID, but now we want to search using selector. Selector gives you more power, unlike search by ID. You know that one is strictly ID, but this one you can use tag name. You could equally use ID or class. Okay, class name. So if we are using class now, of course it's the class we want to target this button, then you put the name. But before then, if it is tag name, you don't start with anything, just put the name of that tag, probably let's say button. Okay, but now we want to target this. If it is ID, you say hash. Of course you know what we did in CSS. Okay, and since it is class, what do we do? Guess that. Yeah, you are correct. Dot, then toggle button. Okay, now we are search for this in the document, then this will return an object to us. So let's print that out. Let's print it out on alert. It will pop that up there. Let's refresh. Document.selector.search. Okay, now we can't see anything popping up. Why? Because we have not linked the JS with the HTML as we did for CSS. So let's do the same. So I always link my JavaScript before the closure of the body. Okay, so it can be added in the head section, but I prefer to have it here for performance sake. So script. So inside the opening script, can you see this is opening script, not closing. The opening script, I will put src equals to, then the name of the file. They are all together in a file, in a folder. Okay, so there's nothing to put part, just put the name. That's index.js. So now can you see it return what? An object HTML button element. Okay, so it means that we have successfully searched for our button. So So let's now do something. Let's keep this object inside a variable called toggle button. You can call it toggle button as well. Okay, you can say btn anyhow. Can you see it now? This just as a variable where we are keeping this value inside. Okay, so let me enlarge this. Let me enlarge, reduce this width. Okay, now so I want a situation whereby when I click on this button, it should do something. So first and foremost, to do that, there is a method called add event listener. Okay, all HTML element has this method. Okay, and this method takes two arguments. The first argument is the name of the event, followed by a function, okay. Functions could be action to be performed. Name of the event could be click once, double click, drag, scroll, and all. So but in our stead now, we want to use click. When the user click on this button, it should do something. So what will it do? You put a function. So a function, you can write a function like this, function. So this is how to put the function. Okay, then you can use arrow function, but let me keep things simple for us. So you look at the function followed by the parentheses and curly bracket. Okay, so press enter. So inside this curly bracket, you're going to be putting what you want it to do when you click on it. So let's do something. Let's now say clicked. Okay, clicked. So let's go back here. See, when I refresh, nothing happened, but when I click on this button, it is expected to do something. So it did not do anything. Why? Because the spelling is wrong. Can you see? This is toggle button, so we should use toggle button, or you can decide to write it in, change this one to button, normal button, however anyhow you want it, but the name must be the same. So let's go back and click. Can you see it now? Clicked. Can you see? Clicked. Can you see? Clicked. Okay, now good. Now the objective of this study, of this tutorial, is to teach us the JavaScript toggling secret, so that when we click on the button, it should help us on the real time add show class to this container that our content might show up, and also when I click again, it should disappear, so remove it. So to do that, let's comment this. To do that, we use if statement, conditional statement. So we have if else statement. So this is the syntax. So for those who are just watching this for the first time, let me explain. This is a conditional statement that influence the flow of our program, that influence the what? The flow of program. Okay, now this curly bracket expect condition, and here expect what? Statement, true statement. When this condition is true, then this one we this true statement goes here. Okay, now when this condition is false, it goes to the other block. This block is called the false statement goes here. Okay, so when this condition is true, it executes this. When it is false, it executes this. And what is the condition we want to consider? We want to check if this div, the class, this class has show. If it has show, it should help us to remove it. So that is the condition we want to put. But if it does not have show, we want it to help us to add the shows to it. Okay, like that. So let me remove that. So to do that, we have the condition is going to be, first of all, we have to target this container, right? To target it, let's keep the container, let's call it container also. Container equals to document. We want to search for it inside the HTML document using query selector. Then we are using class, so dot container. Okay, dot container. Then inside here we can now call the name container. Can you see container? Then dot class. This object equally, all the element HTML element has this method as well. So class list dot, you now check contains, because this class list, it returns. Okay, let me show you what this returns so that you will know. So we are going to be returning the content of that. Let's say alert. There's a container dot class list. So let's see what that will give to us. When I click on this, it gives us what? The list, the container list. Can you see? Let me add this. Let me add show also to it. Show, and go back again. Let's refresh. Let's click. Can you see? It will show all the classes in this attribute. The value we assign to this attribute class is going to show it here. So if I remove this show again, let's put another name. Let's close this and click. Can you see? It will show it. So that is how to target the class attribute of an element, HTML element. So with that, now we know that we have access to the class. So now for us to confirm whether this class has show, let's see if it's show. Now we have the shows to read. Now let's now see if it has show. Let's ask, when I click, we want to know whether it has the show. So you say contains, what do you want to check? Show class. So when I click on it, that return true or false. So like when I click on this, can you see it's return true? That is, yes, it contains show. But if I remove it now, let's remove it and click again. Can you see? False. So this is the condition. We need it because it returns Boolean value, and this is what this expression, this particular expression, conditional statement, needs. It needs a true or false value. Okay, now if it is true, that is, if it is inside this class, if show is there, if it is true, then we want to remove it. We want to remove it so that it can hide this content. Okay, so that it can remove it. By the time you say yes, okay, we want to remove it, then this one disappears. So when it is false, it jumps to this place. Then we are going to add the show class so that it comes up. So for it now, let's put the show now, show. Okay, now if it is true, meaning this place is true, right? Let's see out something. Let's say yes. Then let's say this one no. Let's go by, let's say alert, no. So this one is when it is true, and why this one we say false. Now in this third down, we have added it manually, hard-codedly. We've added show, so meaning it's going to be true. We expect to see yes. So let's click on button. Can you see? Yes. So when it is there, we want to remove it. So how do we remove it? You say container dot class list dot remove. So you state the name of the class, which is show. So let's try that out. Let's click on it. Let's click. Can you say yes? But what happened? It removes it. You can't see it here. Okay, let me open on the browser here. This corner, come down to more tools, and then click on developer tools. On Windows, I think it should be the same. Now let's go to the inspect element. Can you see? This is the container here. Can you see the class now? This show class in the runtime is not there. So let me refresh so that you can see. Can you see? By default it is there. Can you see? Because we added it here. So if I click on this now, this button, watch what will happen here. It removes it. It removes the class and hides the content. Okay, it hides the container. So that is what will happen. So for us to make it come to when we click again, can you see say no? When we click again, that is say no, meaning that it's not contained again in the class list. So what do? We want to display, we want to add it again so that it can shows the content. We want to toggle go off and on, and that is the logic, that is the secret, the toggling secret for mode changes, that is from black to white, from white to black. Okay, so let's look at how. Let's comment this alert and let's put container dot class list dot add. Then what are we hiding? We want to add the show class. So now let me remove this. Now let me remove that show at codedly. Let's refresh. Now watch this very closely. It's not there, right? The show class is not there, but we have container because we have it here. So when I click on this button, it add it for us because check, is it there? No, then it add show. Now that the show is there, when I click on it again, when I click on this one again, when I click on click me, it removes the show. And that is how everything works. So if you like this video and you want me to do more of this, subscribe to the channel, share, like, click the like button, it does not cost you anything, and share the video that other people who will also learn and be beneficial to this from this particular tutorial may equally see it. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I'll still be dropping more of the video on this channel. Please turn on your notification icon. So bye for now.